Hi guys, my name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things personal finance, faith, and lifestyle. And today we will be talking about high yield savings accounts, specifically what institution I bank with, what their current APY is, what my current savings look like, and what my future savings will be looking like. But first, I actually just wanted to say thank you so much to people who comment and subscribe and are just so kind. I've been getting feedback that my tips and my insight has been really helpful or has been clear and effective, and that's always my goal. So I hope to continue to produce content for you guys that you really enjoy. Also, thank you so much for breezing past the fact that specifically my last video, the lighting was terrible. So today we are in a different setting. We are in my bedroom because it gets significantly better natural light than my living room does. And when I filmed my last video is when, unfortunately, Texas was going through all of like the crazy flash floods and everything like that. So the sun did not come out for like a long time. I was just filming and hoping things would be fine. And I think I messed up my ring light adjustments. So it is what it is. But today I'm hoping that this all comes out a little bit better in terms of production quality. So thank you so much for just being patient with me while I navigate all of these different aspects of creating this content and everything that goes into it. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So as I mentioned, we will be talking about high yield savings accounts today. And for anyone who's unfamiliar with high yield savings accounts, that is different from just your regular savings account that you might just have in a regular bank. So for example, I bank with Chase. I get my paychecks deposited into my Chase checking account, and in conjunction with that checking account, I also have a savings account, but that account just sits there. It holds my savings for me to make sure I separate it from my spending money and my bill money and all that good stuff, but it doesn't do me any favors. And if you've ever heard anyone say that you lose money by just having it sit in your savings account, I actually never understood what that meant, because I was like, how am I losing money? I'm actually doing myself a favor by not spending the money. But that's not what they mean. They mean that by not taking that money and either investing it or putting it somewhere that will result in compound interest, then you're really losing money to inflation. So as inflation goes up, the value of what is sitting in your regular savings account is not progressing and growing the same way that inflation is, which is why it's so important to get your money into a high yield savings account. Now, there are plenty of different high yield savings accounts, and we could save that for an entirely different video going over and comparing different institutions and things like that. But for now, I will just get into who I bank with and sort of my why behind that, but I won't spend too much time on it. But currently, my high yield savings account is set up with Ally Bank. They are the first and only high yield savings account that I have set up before. I looked into multiple different accounts, and it can be a little overwhelming figuring out what is the best route for you to take. And it really just depends on your preferences. Some people will skip around and redeposit their money into a different account with a different institution as soon as they see that another institution's APY has gone up or is greater than their current APY. I don't personally do that. I'm sure I'm missing out on money by not doing that. It's personally not the end of the world to me. I like Ally personally. There are things that I wish would be different or just things that I feel like they can improve on, but at the end of the day, I'm not super picky about it. I'm just happy that my savings is actually growing over time. And they have certain features that I like that I couldn't get with another institution that maybe has a higher APY. For example, Ally has savings buckets. So basically what this looks like is they have different buckets that separate your different wants and savings goals. So rather than just depositing your money into one large lump sum into a savings account, you're able to break it down basically like envelope stuffing. For anyone who's familiar with that concept or enjoys doing actual cash stuffing into envelopes, it's sort of the same thing, but you're actually making more money because your money's compounding on itself. I personally like Ally because they don't have the lowest APY on planet Earth. There aren't minimums to my knowledge, there aren't additional fees, and they have the bucket feature. So it really has everything that I'm looking for. Of course, do I want them to have a higher APY? Yes. Have they had a higher APY than what they do right now? Absolutely. But it just fluctuates. What you lock in at is not what your account is going to stay at all the time. I can't remember how much the APY was when I joined, but I do know that right now it is at its lowest, at least since I've started banking with them, which is currently at a 3.5% APY. I think the highest it's gone while I've been with them is 4.5%. But I can't quite remember, but I do know it was getting up there, and it just kind of fluctuates with time. I will also go ahead and link my Ally's Refer a Friend link in my description box for anyone who is interested in opening an Ally account. I can't remember exactly what the promotion is. I believe you and I both get $50 to $100 or something like that when you open an eligible Ally account. So no pressure to use the link by any means, but I have it because I have the account. So if you want to get some money and also help me get some money, go right ahead. It'll be in the description box. But I'm sure most of you are here to kind of get an idea of what is in my high yield savings account. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So as of today, July 17th, 2025, my high yield savings account is currently sitting at $14,072.69. Now that has fluctuated over time. Sometimes it's been a lot lower, sometimes it's been a lot higher. But today I'll give you a rundown as to why each bucket looks the way that it does and just give you an idea of what my goals are moving forward. So the first bucket you'll see in this account is my core savings, which is currently at $0. It's because that is where I typically transfer money in and out of. It's more of a middleman for me, so I don't really put anything there. The only thing that I put there is, let's say I'm kind of torn between which buckets I should split the savings into. What I'll do is I'll at least just let it sit there because it's still accruing interest even if it's just in that core savings bucket. And the reason why I like to do that is because at least it separates it out from my checking account where like my spending money and my bill money is. If I don't just separate that money out, I'm more likely to spend it. And so in this case, it's really nice because even if I'm not exactly sure where I want to allocate that money yet, I still have somewhere to put it where it's actually benefiting from sitting there. And next we have the wedding fund. And by wedding fund, it's really anything related to me getting married. I got engaged a couple months ago and we're still not sure what it is that we want to do for a wedding. So at this point, we're just saving and seeing what we decide on. So we're able to use that money for a wedding if we want to, our honeymoon, or really anything that we need to take care of in between. And right now that bucket is sitting at $1,796.56. As you can see, it says the target date is October 9th. That date is arbitrary. It basically means nothing, but I think I set up that bucket on May 9th. And so I was just like, oh, let me see how much I can save in 5 months. So that brought it to October 9th. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to saving for a wedding, a lot of times you're gonna need deposits and things like that. So even though we haven't quite set a date or we don't know exactly what we wanna do, it's best to not wait until the last second to make sure that you have that money, because you might need some money along the way. Even if you don't need the full amount, you still might need to pay partially up front or something like that. So I just wanted to make sure that by October I had like a decent-ish amount of money sitting in there for a wedding fund. I know everyone's wedding funds are gonna look different. I know some people pay $50,000 for their wedding, and I think that's amazing. You do whatever you want to do. But for us personally, we just want to set up goals and stay within a budget for whatever it is that we end up doing. So I figured $5,000 was a good place to start. Next, we have the gift category that contains $80 currently. It's for someone specific, but in general, a gift fund is sort of a nice to have. My mom has always told me that I should do that, but I was like, Mom, I don't have extra money to just be constantly throwing into a gift fund. I don't think most people do, but it is actually really smart if you have the funds and it's not stretching you too thin, to add money in there here and there, because obviously you have birthdays that come up, you have occasions like weddings or holidays and things like that, and it sucks when you get to those occasions and you don't really have money for gifts. So it is nice to build that up if you have the means to. Next, we have the pet bucket, which is currently sitting at $86.15. That one I do actually need to prioritize putting more money into. I have 2 dogs and I really like to use that account to help with their medication if they have anything reoccurring like flea and tick meds, or even taking out of that account for their dog food, because dog food is $1 trillion, at least the ones that we give our dogs. So it's nice to have something sitting there, but I actually really need to seriously increase that account because one of my dogs is going to need a heartworm test, but is also going to need some type of dental surgery because not all of his baby teeth fell out and there's overcrowding, and so I know that that is going to be a really large and expensive bill come October, so I actually do need to start saving more in that account. Next, we have medical, which I noticed is so sad. I was like, this is actually kind of embarrassing. It's sitting at $17.54, but that is because I really haven't needed it. Glory to God, I have pretty good health and I don't find myself needing to go to urgent care a lot or the emergency room and things like that. So in the past, if I've had to do those things, I was able to take from that account, but it's been a long time since I've built it back up, in which case I need to do the responsible thing and build it back up for things like, again, emergencies or even co-pays and stuff like that. It's really nice to be able to take from that medical account, especially because I have a couple appointments coming up soon anyway, so it would be nice to be able to take from that, but I barely have anything in there to take from. It won't even cover a copay, so I need to add to that as well. Next, we have my down payment on a house fund. Now, this bucket has been sitting at a really low amount basically the entire time I've had it. Context matters, and I think it's important to note that this bucket was created on August 30th, 2022. As you can see, I only have $3,252.86 in this account, and it is July 17th, 2025. It has been almost 3 years of saving for this down payment, and I will say it's because I was not actively saving for it the way that I could have. And that's because I don't truly have any real goals in terms of buying a house in the near future. I want to, and that would be great, but it's not something that I'm doing in the near future or that I was doing previously. So it was something that I knew I wanted to save for, but I didn't have a true goal or a house that I had my eye on. And so I was a lot more diligent about putting money into this account when I first made it. But now really all that goes in there are my monthly interest payouts that I receive from Ally each month. And that is a promise that I made to myself. I'm not allowed to use my interest that I accrue on anything else besides going into this fund, because I know that I don't do a great job of prioritizing it. So if the one thing that's going in there every month is $40, that's 40 more than what I've been putting into it through my own pockets. And as you can see, the goal for that fund is $12,500. Again, arbitrary. There's no real reason behind that, but I thought it was smart to have something, and I like to shoot for some type of goal because I feel like that just helps me make it come to life. Now for travel, that fund is sitting at $394.58. The goal being $2,500. Now, I know that it's currently really low, but that's because I used it on travel. And that's something that I want to make a note of for this entire video and for all of these buckets. I have always had such a hard time spending the money that I've saved. And that's actually why I enjoy having buckets, because the point of me saving $2,500 for travel is to use it on travel. And so now that I've done that, now I just have to replenish it, and it doesn't have to feel like a weird thing that fund is low, because it's like, well, you don't want it to just sit there either, because it's for travel, it's for having fun. So when it comes to these fun buckets and things like that, make sure you use it what it's used for. Next, we're gonna move on to my largest bucket, which is my emergency fund, which is currently sitting at $8,455. Now, when I originally made this bucket, it was for 3 months of my bills and expenses. I think that it's good to have anywhere from 6 months to a year, but when I was starting out, I did not have a lot of money like that. I could not just be throwing 6 to 12 months of money into this account. That would be crazy. So I said, again, let me give myself a goal. I started with 3 months and I was able to attain that, and it was really awesome. And then I believe I increased it a little bit when I moved into this apartment because my bills and expenses changed, but I actually have not updated it in a little while. And so prior to filming this video, I just did some math on the ways that I need to up that goal, not only because one, my bills and expenses have gone up a lot since I created this. So let's say, God forbid, I lost my job tomorrow. This 3 months worth of money in this bucket will not cover where my bills and expenses are present day. So I need to increase that regardless, but I've also always had a goal of increasing it to 6 months. So that actually really is my next goal outside of my wedding fund and needing to urgently save for that, because that's just coming up pretty quickly. After that's all said and done, I really want to prioritize putting more money into my emergency fund. So after calculating my current bills and expenses and seeing what 6 months worth of that would be, that would bring me to $19,866.66, which is a huge jump. That's over $11,000 that I have to come up with in an effort to hit that goal. But one, it's not impossible. Two, it's necessary. And I also want to give some context behind what all is included in there. So when I say bills and expenses, I am including my $400 a month spending money. If you go back to my previous video and see how I allocate my monthly budget, you'll see that I give myself $400 for the month. The reason why I feel like that should be included in the emergency fund is because you are going to still spend money outside of what just your sole needs are. So again, if I got laid off from work, I would still need money to go live. So that's why it's really important to me to include spending money. It does not include tithe, because tithe is me giving 10% of what I'm making, and if I'm making nothing, then there's not really anything to give there. And the money that is going into this emergency fund has already had tithe taken out of it, so that's why it's not included. And I didn't include this in my last video, but I just started therapy after I finished filming that video, and I went ahead and budgeted $120 per month on therapy. If I go once a week, my copay is $30. So I went ahead and added that as well. And the last bucket we're gonna go over today is my car maintenance bucket, which is currently at $0. And this is why. So back at the end of April 2025, I got a new car. Well, not new, but new to me, so still new. And before I bought that car, this bucket was actually titled car down payment. And I believe I saved up $3,500 in there. That was the goal because I knew that I wanted to get a different car in April. So that previously had a lot more money in it. Then I spent it all again on what it was supposed to be spent on, and now we're down to zero. And mind you, the same week that I got the car is the same week I got engaged. So now that I'm engaged and we're planning for a wedding, all of my savings is really going towards making sure I have money for the wedding. But I still want to have some type of a car maintenance fund for oil changes, for tires, for windshield wipers, because I was actually able to get a bumper to bumper warranty for 2 years. And so if anything catastrophic were to happen to my car, that should already be covered. But I would still like to build up this bucket just a little bit, just in case I need money for those parts that just have regular wear and tear. Now I just want to get into a little bit of how I fund my buckets. So because I get paid bi-weekly, I put money in there bi-weekly. I don't automate payments because although I have certain savings goals, there are times where I might overspend or something might come up. So I might not be able to hit my monthly savings goals of $1,000. So I manually go and move those things every time I get paid. Now, over the past couple of years, since I've had this account, generally I will try to not equally balance, but create some good balance and stability between each of the buckets. But where I'm at in life right now, I'm putting more urgency towards certain buckets over others, but that will change. And this system really works for me because it helps me to not overspend. It helps take away financial stress, knowing that if I needed something, if I have an emergency, that I have money sitting there. Because there have been times in life where my car has broken down again and again and again and again and again. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna keep paying for this. I have nothing. And so now I finally do. Would it be unfortunate to have to get laid off and take from my emergency fund? Absolutely. That would devastate me mentally and emotionally and financially. But it's nice to know that I have something. Something is better than nothing. And I used to have nothing. I mean, I've always prioritized saving, as I mentioned in my financial journey video I made a while back. But now that I have these savings buckets, I specifically have everything divided up so I know how much money I have for each category of my life. And I love this system for myself personally because it keeps my goals visible and measurable. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful and just kind of giving you insight as to where my savings are currently. Mind you, this is totally different from where my investments are. That can also be a whole different video, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight, and I feel like this is gonna help me just in terms of that increased discipline to save, because I know that I'm putting this out on the internet. So I think it also helps just kind of hold me accountable to my goals, but I'm not perfect. None of us are. Again, sometimes I might not hit my savings goals every single month, but that's the point. It is a goal. It is a framework to base my decisions off of. So yeah, I'm happy with it where it's at right now, and there is so much room for improvement, but I am really happy and really grateful that I have something. And if you like this type of content, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe so that you can continue on my journey with me and see how far I can take these savings goals. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!